What is a typical sub-commerce cloud implementation team size and how the team should be structured? It's a very common question, of course, that everyone asks at the beginning when doing the sizing of the project and the whole modeling of the project planning. So it's important to understand that at the very beginning of the project, definitely a discovery phase is must have. In this discovery phase, of course, you have top experts which know the product. So these are the business analysts which are on site with the customer, trying to collect the requirements, trying to put them into a written and translatable way to the developers. And these business analysts, they need to go through the whole project from the very beginning, understanding the requirements to the end, accepting the solution together with the business on the other side. But don't underestimate the role of a technical lead, an architect, somebody who needs to question the data model, somebody who questions always the size of the solution, the integration complexity, the different ways of delivering, the solution from development to operational side and maintenance. So like a typical DevOps, not just only on the architecture side, but really understanding the cycle of the project itself. So it's not a typical architect role, somebody that will describe you the business model, the data model, or define you the integration pain points, but it's somebody who is actually going even further, defining the delivery, the deployment part within the project. And this is like the minimum to start a project with. And of course, if you get to the best practice to involve a user experience guy from the same team, involved from the beginning with the business analysis phase and defining the customer experience, that is really must have as a minimum size. So business analyst, user experience guy, technical guy like a DevOps or architect role. So these are the main players from the beginning of the project. When you go through the discovery phase, of course, you need to follow on the sprints and the flexibility of the delivery. And there you have always back-end development and front-end development. Of course, the best is somebody who has a full understanding of front-end, back-end, and integration, and that should be your technical lead, of course, within the project. And now, depending on the size, you can have several front ends, several back ends, the technical lead, the architect of the solution, the BAs, which can play the role of the scrum masters, and the user experience guy who is from the beginning very overloaded with work and then going lower with volume, but staying on the project until the end, delivering the successful customer experience. And this can be a team size of 5 to 6 people for a smaller project, or it can be team of tens, depending on the size of the project and the global reach of the project, which can be several teams of 10, like 2, 3, 4 teams of 10, and each having its own modularity and responsibility, like one delivering the catalog, the others are delivering the checkout process, third are delivering the fulfillment, and so on. So this depends on the size of the project, but I think the role overall very clear, and you have to have a central team which is managing, of course, the collaboration, which are the project managements and the scrum masters, and communicating to the customers. Don't forget, your business needs to be involved, so we expect your team to be involved from the very beginning to the end, and you define the role of your team. Sizing the project is crucial for the beginning, of course, because you need to understand what is the timeline of the business to get their expectations running online. And that's actually the critical point of defining the size of the team. Yeah. So do we want to have the whole shop running in 6 months? Do we want to have it in release, like more stable but more dedicated and more specific? It's always depending on the priorities on the business side, but that's part of the discovery, right? So you sit together, you define you define the scope, and you define the priorities together. So coming out of this work, of this collaboration, you can fully agree on what is the size of the team that can manage, the load, And depending on the technical specialities of the team members, you can define different teams working on different integration points or different modules, and so on. It is all manageable. It's a fact of really prioritizing the scope and delivering in the particular time frame. Of course, there is a risk that you oversize the team, and this oversizing of the team will bring a lot of complexity from project management perspective, and that's a risk that you need to manage and you need to mitigate. So you need to have the right reporting within the project and the right understanding of how to follow on the progress of the different teams. A team for a small and mid-sized project should definitely have a BA, a business analyst, somebody that is discussing the requirements with the customer and bringing this into the fit to standard workshops and trying to find what is the best way to actually implement the requirements on top of the standard. And that will be together with the technical lead, somebody that knows the product from inside. So a back-end developer and a front-end developer that actually understands how things can be implemented. And these are the people with the experience because they know what a single sign-on means. They know how to integrate the different business solutions and so on. And from there, you have two back-end developers and two front-end developers. So it becomes a size of 7 people, which is definitely enough to have started a SubCommerce Cloud implementation project from a mid-size perspective. In the enterprise world, of course, you have different stakeholders and you have different hierarchies. So it cannot be just one business analyst because then you have different departments in different areas inside the customer, inside the business. And working with them, they define the different requirements, they collaborate together, and then they push all the requirements to the implementation teams. And from there, you can scale up the team size. So basically, you can imagine that one BA will have each up to 6 developers in behind. So if you have like 3 units which are providing the requirements to the implementation, then you need 3 teams of 7, which is 21 people involved in the project. And of course, some of the things can be done together. So if this grows up, you need one team, like a technical steering committee that is looking on the overall solution. I would not say it's an architecture team. I would say it's more like integration data model team or information management team, that they know exactly which data comes from where, how this will be managed, how the application will be maintained, monitored, and so on. And this is basically providing the future sustainability of and maintainability of the solution. So going out of the implementation and jumping into the real productive environment, how this will be maintained and monitored, where do we know what are the pain points in the data replication, and how to make sure that the delivered solution from performance perspective is the best one you can get.